Twins started out the season 4-0, dropped the last two to the Finns. Let's get into it. Two tough losses past two games to Luzardo and Alcantara. I mean, those are two top of the line pitchers, so I mean you can't be too mad, but Twins looked really, really good the first game of the season. Obviously they weren't facing the most, aggressive pitchers, but it was really, I think, our starters that really shined this weekend. What did you see out of them?
Yeah, I mean, I think that even dates back all the way to the beginning of the season in the Royals series, too. I mean, we weren't winning those games 9-1. We were winning them 2-0, 2-0. They were tight, close games, low-scoring games, and that's what we continued to see this week. Another low-scoring few games. I mean, the third game, sure, 5-2, but to fall 1-0 against a former Cy Young Award winner, Sandy Alcantara, what are you going to do? Right. I mean, he's unbelievable. Pitched, I think he had by far the most complete games last year, already on pace to do it again this year. If he's already got one in the first week, that's crazy. I mean, he's something else. We talked about it in the last podcast. We're like, well, they're probably going to drop that game. And it was pretty clear that I think the Twins thought they were going to drop that game too, just the way that they built their lineup and the way they played. They said, hey, let's sit. They sat Buxton, sat Kepler. Didn't feel like they were going all in against Sandy Alcantara this week.
Yeah, kind of felt like they knew they were fighting an uphill battle, and we're like, well, let's not waste our energy doing this, which, yeah, I mean, I don't disagree, but also you want to see your team playing aggressive to win big games, so it's definitely a double-edged sword, but yeah, Alcantara is just one of those pitchers. You just watch and it's mesmerizing how he works and how he just controls the zone so well. And the efficiency he does it, I think that's why he's able to work so deep into games that you don't see that many pitchers in the MLB nowadays like that. So I think it's really refreshing to see a guy like that. I mean, obviously not against your team, but
yeah, and as good as Sandy Alcantara is, I mean, hey, Jesus Luzardo, man, bringing in a lefty after an absolute shutdown righty like that's hard day's work for sure. And he struck out, I think, at least 10. I believe he struck out 10. I know he hit the 10 mark. Hey, I predicted this. You said they were going to win 2, lose 1. Obviously, we both predicted they were going to lose to Sandy Alcantara. I told you, don't watch out for Jesus Luzardo, man. He is on a tear, and I think he's going to continue this season. He's good, and he showed it against the Twins. But what are you going to do?
Yeah, and that just speaks to how strong of a pitching staff that Marlins team has between him, Alcantara, Edward Cabrera. I mean, they're deep and allowed them the flexibility to obviously send a guy like Lopez to boost their lineup. But
luckily, the first game we got to see Mr. Johnny Cueto, so that worked out. I mean, that game was over before it even started, it felt like, and he came out. I think he ended up getting hurt. I don't know how serious or what the injury ended up being, but they brought in a prospect who made his major league debut after that, pitched a couple innings, gave up a few bombs. We tore it up that game. That was a homer heavy game for sure.
Yeah, he was in a tough spot having to face that hot Twins lineup after Cueto got him all warmed up. But speaking of starting pitchers who left the game early, game 2, Kenta Maeda, he was absolutely shoving. Then it was something with his throwing arm, correct?
I believe so. Yeah, I haven't seen if there's been an update that's come out. Hopefully by the time this airs, there'll be something that comes out about that. But last I saw, he seemed like he was fine. Like during that game, he was in the dugout, he looked fine. Everything seemed fine. I think it was precautionary because of the fact that he had to have Tommy John. You don't want to let him pitch anymore. You want to say, that's it, pull him, go back in the back room, and let's figure this out. So from what I can tell, that's what it was, right?
Yeah, that's kind of what it seemed like. It didn't seem too serious. I feel like we wouldn't have seen him hanging around if it was something more than that. So I think at tops maybe a week or two we miss a few starts, but shouldn't be anything too much to worry about. But
yeah, I mean, I don't even think we're necessarily going to see him miss any starts. I think it was just straight fatigue. He's a guy, he hadn't pitched in 591 days or something like that. It was like August of 2021. So I think the moment that anyone on the staff saw, okay, it looks like he's getting tired, he's losing a mile an hour or two, I think they decided that's it, he's done. Like they had a very short leash on Kenta Maeda going into that game, I assume.
Yeah.
So I don't think he's going to miss his next start unless something big comes out that he's actually injured.
Gotcha. Cool. Well, and again, like you said, first start in 500 days. I think it's totally makes sense that they want to be more on the safe side. But moving on to the Twins batting order, we did end up seeing some changes. I know on the last episode we were kind of talking about how we saw the same lineup every time, but definitely saw some more variations in the lineup. What were some of the things that stood out to you?
Well, we were 4-0 with that lineup, and all of a sudden they decided to change it. I know we had to face Sandy Alcantara, but they took Buxton and Kepler out of the lineup against one of the best pitchers in the team. Best pitchers in the league, I meant. What do you expect is going to happen? I didn't feel great about the change. And in a 1-0 game, when it gets into that 8th, 9th inning time, and you've got Kepler and Buxton sitting there healthy on the bench, unless something was wrong with Buxton, I do not understand why he did not pinch hit in that game. There had to have been a scenario at some point that you say, you know what, we're going to bring him in, even if he ends up going out there and striking out, he's going to battle against Alcantara and wear him down and hopefully set up the next guy. I did not like that he did not come in the game and at least DH, because does he really need a break? He only DH'd for 3 games. He didn't even play center. I love me some Buxton, but come on, I know that they want to really baby him, keep him healthy. I'm all for that, but he only DH'd, and I did not think that there was any reason that he should not have pinch hit in that second game. That was just outright didn't make sense to me. If I was Rocco, I think I don't know. He had to.
No, 100%. Like, it comes down, like, yes, 162 games is a long season, but every single game matters so much. You get to the end of August, early September, and it's like, that's when people really start to count these wins. But like, you can start stealing these wins in April, in May, and it's like, yeah, sure, I know it's, not
especially against
important.
Teams like the Marlins. I mean, you got to win those games. You can't drop a series to the Marlins, even if it is April. Games still matter.
No, 100%, and not with the new schedule rules where we have to play every single team in the league now. We have so many more series against plus top 15 teams now that like it's going to be way harder to win those series. So yeah, it's really frustrating to see them drop a series like this where they definitely should have been up 2-0 or 2-1 for sure.
I mean, for all you throw Buxton out there to pinch hit in the 7th, 8th, or 9th inning, and Alcantara decides, I'm not going to give him anything to hit because I don't want this to be a 1-1 game. He walks him, puts him on base on accident, or just pitches around him basically, and all of a sudden you got Gallo or Correa walking up to the plate. There had to have been a situation to bring Buxton in, and you bring him into this game. You win a game here in April, like you just said, and that way, when you get into September, you maybe have that extra 1 or 2 game lead, and you don't have to bring Buxton in a 1-0 game against Sandy Alcantara, because that game now, you at least have a little bit of buffer, but to at least just pinch hit, DH, whatever, throw him in the outfield for 1 inning at the end of the game to try to find a way to win. There had to have been a way. And there's enough depth on this team to be able to pinch hit Buxton in the 8th inning, see what happens. If we tie it up, great. If anything, we take the lead or it stays the same, take him back out, put somebody else out there. There were more guys on the bench. You don't even have to have Buxton play the field. Just give him that one at bat in that super important situation. Or Kepler. We know we talked about Kepler obviously a lot on the show last time, but he can be clutch. He has that clutch gene in him. He's off our slump list, right? Would you agree, or is he still on it?
I think temporarily he's off it, but the line is thin for him to go back on. There's no doubt about it. He's
still one for. It's just the home run that he got that game, right? I don't think he had another hit.
He might have had one more. I can't remember, but
I'll take
one home run will get you out of slump watch, but we're still keeping a close eye on you. There's no question about that.
Oh, he did have 2 hits. You're right. Yep. And then Kyle Farmer actually ended up pinch hitting for him later in the game, and we haven't seen Kepler since. He didn't play game 2, didn't play game 3 against the Marlins. Now he gets a day off on Thursday. So, they're pretty much giving Kepler the week off. He might as well have taken a vacation.
Just hung out in Miami for a little bit.
Yeah. True, yep. But I'm sure we're going to see him in that starting lineup on Friday. And then obviously the home opener got moved from Thursday to Friday, which is great because now the weather's going to be nice. Hopefully we can go.
It's supposed to be so cold on Thursday, so
yeah,
definitely happy about that change. No question about it. But speaking of changes, substitutions by the coaches in this series, we're continuing to see the Twins use 9 or more offensive players every game. Do you think this is a product of early season, just trying to keep not overwork guys, or do you think this is a style from Rocco that we're going to continue to see throughout the season?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of being a product of early season. You're coming out of spring training and guys maybe aren't necessarily out there for 9 innings every game, and you're trying to still work them into it. But I don't know. I do think we're going to see this all season. I was surprised, again, I keep saying that we didn't see any pinch hit substitutions in Game 2. Every other game we've had pinch hitters, except for Game 2 when it was a 1-0 game. That surprised me, but I think we're going to continue to see this throughout the whole season. I think you're going to have less than 20 games that we don't see some defensive or offensive substitution. You know, it's going to be very rare for the Twins to not swap guys around during the game.
I think that speaks to our depth is we have so many guys that can do so many different things that I think it's just situational,
Yeah.
When it comes down to that.
They're clearly looking at the analytics very hard and whatever substitutions they're doing, because, I mean, you look at that game, it's a Game 2 or Game 3 against a lefty. They decided that Larnach maybe should not be batting cleanup all of a sudden, and they dropped him to 7th or 8th in the lineup. I think it was 7th in the lineup, and they put Donovan Solano in at 3rd in the lineup. So that was an interesting move, I thought, but obviously it didn't pay off in the end. But I think we continue to see some moves like that. Like, I don't think that anyone is going to own a single spot in this lineup besides Carlos Correa and Buxton. They are not going to move from that 2, 3, 4 spot. They are never going to drop below that. We'll see them in 1, 2, 3, 4 though throughout the season. So I don't think anyone owns a spot in this lineup like some other teams.
No, 100%. It's a very flexible and tangible lineup. It's going to adjust to what the other team has to offer. I think, I agree. I think we're going to see a ton of changing and shifting around in the order, and just like last year, for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
But kind of just recapping the series, Marlins ended up taking it 2-1. Game 1, homer happy Twins. I mean, they were just pounding the ball. Gallo was staying hot. Mm-hmm. We saw a little Larnach triple, which first MLB triple for him.
Yeah, and a home run too.
He was flirting with the cycle. Couldn't bring her home. All good though. Then Game 2 and 3, it was just those shutdown pitching performances on both sides for most of the game. I know Soler in Game 3 got that late one, but
two bombs in the game, unfortunately, and that one in the 8th, that hurts. That shut the door, and it was like crap.
And it's frustrating, like we were saying earlier, to drop a series like this to a below average team. But I also saw a lot this series that I really did like. So it's like, I'm sad we lost, but I think I'm excited for what's to come. I don't know. How do you digest this series?
Yeah, I think for me, the recap of the series all comes down to I didn't like that they didn't pitch hit Buxton against Sandy Alcantara. I think that it's clear the Twins have offense, they have power, they have pop. The starting pitching is incredible. The whole series, we still, on Wednesday against Luzardo, we let up 5 runs, sure, but that's not bad. For how much offense has been in baseball this season, all around, there's teams scoring in the teens. Like, there's been 20-plus runs being scored in a single game by teams combined. We are really playing low-scoring games every time we go out there, and that's good to see. That means our pitching's doing good, starting and in the back end in the bullpen. Emilio Pagan went out there, walked a guy, made everybody nervous, but he got out of it. So, all right, well,
he had a good outing.
He got 2 strikeouts. Yeah, I mean, he did it. He made it through, but he still makes me nervous every single time. That's why I wear the shirt.
the analytics won this round.
But again, I think the recap of the series is I just hope that the Twins do not play the whole season the way that they played the game against Sandy Alcantara. It's not about the fact that we lost. It's not that he destroyed us. It's just they didn't seem like they went out there with the full goal of trying to win that game. It felt more like, let's try to get through this one and win tomorrow. And they ended up losing tomorrow, the next game. So that didn't feel great.
No, definitely not. And, are you concerned at all with this Twins lineup that, when we see that those top of the line pitchers, do you think this is going to be a continuing trend where our offense just can't really get going? Or do you think this is just early season, just kind of getting the dust and rust off of the machinery?
Yeah, I mean, I still think it's the early season, but, it's still the early season for the starter, too. So Sandy Alcantara didn't necessarily have, the best start his first game either. I think he let in, 4 or 5 runs or something in a few innings. So it's early for him. It's early for us. I do think that we may struggle with some of these top-end starting pitching, but I'm not as nervous as I have been in past years. If you asked me the same question in 2020, even with the Bombas, or the 2019 with the Bomba squad, or obviously years before that, I was like, well, we can beat those pitchers. We can score runs on Sandy Alcantara. I know we can with our full lineup, but now our pitching can hold us in there. Our bullpen and our starters can actually hold us, and it's kind of the most confident I've felt about our starting pitching overall in a long time. So I do think that we can beat those guys because of that. I think we can still go out there and score a few runs, knock guys out of the game early. We have guys on the lineup that aren't going to go out there and only see 1-2 pitches. That is one thing I miss about Arise. Sandy Alcantara only threw 100 pitches, but if Arise was on our team, I think he would have seen 25, 30 of those pitches because he just battles and knocks starting pitchers out of the game early. And I think we kind of lost that a little bit by getting rid of Arise, but hopefully somebody like Buxton and Correa do. They go up there and they battle, and they don't just ground out on the first pitch every time. That's going to be helpful because pitch counts is what people care about and start in those top-end starting pitchers. So more than what you have to do is rack up their pitch count more than rack up the runs against them.
100%. Getting those guys out of the game early and tiring them out so they are missing over the strike zone more, giving your batters more opportunities is so crucial. And I feel like that's definitely been something overlooked in the wave of analytics that's swept through baseball the past 10 years. But, looking forward this next weekend, Twins have a real test coming up, defending World Series champs, our first look at a true playoff caliber team. How are you feeling right now? Are you nervous? Are you excited? Do you think this is a chance to make a statement for the Twins? Where's your head at?
Yeah, I mean, obviously beating the Houston Astros makes everyone in the MLB feel good usually. So that would be great. Yeah. But it is really good to see that we're going to see their 3, 4, and 5 starting pitcher, and we don't have to face Framber Valdez. We don't have to face Christian Javier. We're going to see Uriquity and Garcia, Brown, the 24-year-old rookie right-hander. I mean, they're good. Don't get me wrong. They're very good, but they are not Framber or Christian, Javier. So that makes me feel a little bit more confident. It feels like the Twins should be able to go out there at home and win some baseball games. And obviously Houston, they've been playing in warm weather just like the Twins, but the Twins at least got to go play in Kansas City where it was a little bit chillier, not as cold as here in Minnesota. We are going to be pumped on Friday if it's 45, 50 degrees.
That's tropical weather.
Exactly. Yeah, that's going to be exciting if it's that warm, but that can really affect pitching, and that can affect the way the ball carries. That can affect the way players run, and the field is going to be wet. They obviously have a great drainage system, but it's wet everywhere. My entire yard is just absolutely soaked, and there's nothing you can do about it because there's just melting snow nonstop because we got 1.5 feet last week. So that being said, wet field means injuries, and that's what makes me the most nervous about this upcoming series is who are they going to roll out in the field, because you don't want to put Buxton in center. I don't think that we're going to see him out there, even though it's the home opener, just because they're going to try to avoid injuries. I think that they're going to try to be careful with some other guys. I don't know. The weather is going to be a big impact on this series, more than anything. And I think the Astros would say the same thing.
100%. It's definitely going to be something to watch. That Minnesota cold is no joke, and we're going to see it in full swing this week. Well, we are going to see some warmer days on the back half of the series, but it's definitely going to be a fun one to watch. And hey, we'll be there Friday, Kamar truck in one hand, beer in the other, cheering on our Twins. If you come see us, or if you see us, come say hi to us. But until then, drop any comments you have. We'll address them on the next podcast. Follow us on all our social medias, TikTok, Instagram, Twitter. Until next time, go Twins.